So good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Talent Finders podcast would like to first welcome um, first generation American and retired helicopter pilot, entrepreneur, and storyteller Rich Cardona. Welcome, Rich.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, Karen.
So Rich, I'd like to congratulate you on your achievements. Can you share with us a little bit more about your journey?
Yeah. The biggest thing that's happened to me is I quit my traditional role in a corporate operations environment, and I just decided to become an entrepreneur and to take more control of my life. And after a few months, I determined that my skill was in interviewing personnel and that and a combination of videography. So I opened a media company, and what I do is I focus on personal branding of C-suite executives and entrepreneurs, and I share their leadership lessons on a podcast. And those of them that are clients, I make their content from A to Z so they don't have to worry about a single thing. I record it, I repurpose it, I edit it, I produce it, I distribute it, all because they don't have the time, but I know they have a strong message to get out there, and they're looking to establish their presence as a thought leader.
Rich, you've had a very diverse career from serving your country as a pilot to corporate and now joining the ranks of entrepreneurship. Was this a natural transition for you, or has this transition been a challenge?
It could not be further from a natural transition whatsoever. I literally was in the gym this morning thinking about how this is a completely new and dynamic leadership challenge for me because there's not an overarching mission. Everything is me, figuring out the mission, the vision, the values, the branding, the messaging, the operations, the battle rhythm and all that. So it hasn't been natural. And to even take it a step further, I mean, not a lot of people quit their job without a plan, a lucrative job, and quit their job without a plan and move in with their mother and father-in-law into their basement and move into a town of 3,000 people when you just came from Austin, Texas, which has almost 1 million people, and and just give it all up in order to pursue what you'd like. So no, it was certainly not natural, and by any stretch of the imagination. But I don't think, at the same time, I don't think it's unique. Meaning, the desire, the hunger, the drive to really bring something to the marketplace that is a need, that solves a problem, and that matters to you. I think that's the most important part, something that matters to you. That part I don't think is unique, and I think that's why I like to think I'm winning. Like every day I wake up and I'm very happy. But so to answer your question, it wasn't natural, but I do think, and you know this with people who go after their dreams and their passions and whatever it may be, that you just have to be relentless.
Yes.
And if you are relentless in the pursuit of these things, I really think success is inevitable, depending on your definition of success.
Absolutely. So having been in the Marine Corps, how do you feel that this has helped you in your entrepreneurial and corporate journey?
So I just made an Instagram story about this morning. I was at the gym at 5:30. The workout took forever. I literally had 2 different exercises to go, and I was at around 50-something minutes, which is about my saturation point, because I start getting a little bit restless in my mind, like, okay, I got to work. So I did them.
Right?
Yeah. So I did them anyway, and that took another probably 17 minutes.
Yeah.
But I didn't regret it. I mean, you never regret it, right? So I was like, okay, great. Like, I knocked that out, and then next thing I know, I'm at home, I'm uploading my videos for LinkedIn and everything for the week. I have everything in a folder. I'm doing dishes. I'm putting laundry and whatever. And my wife's pregnant, so she's still sleeping, and I don't wake her up or anything like that. My daughter was still sleeping. And I had my little meal, and then next thing I know, my daughter's up. my wife's up. We're a full house, just, doing our thing. Oh, and I walked the dog and took him out and all this other stuff. And next thing I know, it's 8:30. 3 hours later, I'm getting in my car to come here to my office for this podcast, and I haven't even touched my espresso yet, and I feel like $1,000,000. So that is a very that is a very long-winded way of saying this. The work ethic and that the Marine Corps gave me, and getting up at such early hours, having that kind of mental and physical discipline is just something I don't think goes away for most people who have served. I absolutely love working and getting things done when I know most people are not, meaning
yes,
that early in the morning or extremely late at night or on the weekends. I mean, I work weekends, you work weekends. Like,
yeah, all the time.
we met on a Sunday. I mean,
Yeah.
so it just, the work ethic is just ingrained, and I really believe there's a level of just kind of I'm not sure how to explain it, just discomfort if you know you're not being productive.
Yes.
So for me, as an entrepreneur especially, I've never watched so little TV in my life. I don't drink alcohol anymore, right? I mean, since April, I'm just like, you know what? Like, I don't want to be foggy ever the next day. And I've been taking care of myself physically and mentally, and then managing like the different forms of energy that I have, and being just hyper focused on how I need to attack the day and what kind of different manners. So I'm long-winded, but
yeah, that's good. I mean, it's people need to hear the story.
So that's it. I mean, my day's now 4 hours in, and I've accomplished a ton. Like, if the day after this podcast, if the day was over, I could still feel okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I could still feel, I've done something. So work ethic is everything, and just the mental and physical discipline.
When did you decide, after working in the traditional workplace, did you feel you wanted to do your own thing? And how and what sparked the inspiration to start Cardona Media? And can you share with us a little more about this?
Sure. Like, I've never been dishonest on a podcast or anything like that. I mean, I worked for the biggest name retailer out there.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely miserable. So this is what I would say. What sparked it was anger, depression, anxiety, and seeing the future, which was, I am climbing, a corporate ladder, so to speak, that I don't even want to be on. This is bullshit. Sorry if this is G-rated, but like,
go ahead.
I was like, this just sucks. I was so unfulfilled, and it was just destroying me. I had no relationship with my daughter. I had a terrible relationship with my wife because I didn't care. I was obsessed about work. I felt like I was always kicking and screaming and jumping up and down just to try and get seen. My results were fantastic, but my character was plummeting. I didn't even recognize myself and some of the things I was doing. I was cutting corners.
Yeah, and it's funny, you actually lose your identity.
Absolutely.
I hear exactly, because I've been there many times.
And that only exacerbates whatever you may be feeling, right? So then, like, you just start to feel guilt. So what sparked it was simply, enough was enough. And then I literally put myself in a position where, they probably weren't sure if they needed to keep me. And I certainly, for a long time, known I didn't need them, at least in my life. Financially, sure, I needed them, but like, did I need that? No. So my wife and I were just like, forget it. I mean, she's the one. She's like, that's it, walk away. And then I walked away, and then Rich Cardona Media started months later. And how that started was simply, I started asking high-level connections that I knew and people in C-suite positions, if I could help them with any videography. Here's the premise of my business. There's people out, and I know you agree, but there's just people out there that are exceptional leaders.
Yeah.
There's tons of people out there that have so much value to bring. But what young impressionable leaders, and my focus right now is trying to help transitioning service members have an easier transition, or veteran entrepreneurs, maybe get a little bit of guidance, is people want to be able to identify with some of the senior leaders. And I took it upon myself to try and humanize them, to make them relatable. No one wants to identify with Superman, or Superwoman, like that. No one can identify with those people. You don't feel like, you will achieve that path. So there's a certain aspect of vulnerability when it comes to senior leadership that is so important to make sure that you are identifying with more people than not, right? Like, you can still be an extremely high level performer that has, some tangible skills that some other people may not, but it doesn't mean you're not vulnerable. It doesn't mean that, you didn't want to get out of bed this morning. It doesn't mean that you might be going through a divorce. It doesn't mean that you have a special needs child, that's really difficult and other people don't know about it. Like, the more you try and shield everyone from knowing that you're an actual human being, the worse it is for everyone,
Yeah, and also it's not real, I think that's the whole thing, because even in what I do with the publicity and the storytelling is, I say to people, I try to bring, like you, people, but in a different format, in a different way, people's story, because everybody looks to Oprah and Elon Musk and, all these million and billionaires. But the truth of the matter is most people are not going to attain that. And I think that it's good to show people those people that are climbing and those people that are doing it. But it's more, like you say, on a more relatable level.
Yeah. So that's the premise. And I'm looking... I have a few clients right now. I've worked with a lot of organizations, and I'm looking for those people that really just want to get their message out there, that know they have value to bring in. And this is going to sound nuts, what I'm about to say. It's not nuts to, I would say, people who understand business, but I'm very selective about who I work with. I mean,
for sure.
It's incredibly important for me in some way or another to be aligned with the values, be aligned with the person's message, be aligned with the person just generally.
Yeah.
And because I believe, and I know, but I really believe that my experience is important as well as the provider, right?
Of course.
So otherwise, I'm probably maybe vulnerable to make mistakes because I'm not taking it as seriously or whatever. And I don't care everything I said about discipline. Like, if you're not behind someone or something when you're doing this kind of intimate work, it literally is like a thread. If you just pull it just a little bit, it's going to unravel a couple of things. So I've really kind of thought to myself a little bit in the last couple of months about the people I've talked to. I'm screening just as much, but just because of my belief in leadership and how it should be, and I take leadership development very seriously. So not only do I want to help people spread their message, but I also want to have a good experience, and I think that's just extremely important to mention, that it is okay to be selective in the types of clients that you take on.
Yeah, of course.
Because great clients is great business.
Yeah.
And
we'll rather have quality versus quantity, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So what would you say are some of your biggest lessons and learnings have been, or that you've gone through, and that has not only helped you to expand, but also helped you to improve? And can you give us some examples of this?
Absolutely. I can give you two that are very recent and very real, and I think is very important for people to hear. I hired someone recently to help out with my team, and I was Karen, I was drowning in so much different work. I mean, look, like, you don't have it all figured out. That's why I say this is a completely different leadership challenge. Some people want things very traditional, like want to know exactly what they're coming into and like the structure and like like some sort of rigidity or operational tempo that is just consistent. Well, it's not like that when I'm
never
building
like
one.
that.
Yeah, I mean, this thing is 9 months old. It's like it's growing and it's just going in a lot of different directions for the better. Like my product offerings and service offerings are varying and all because of feedback that I'm taking in. Now, that being said, hiring and firing is so important. You and I are obviously huge Gary Vee fans, but here's one thing a huge mistake I made. I needed help so badly that I just kept getting a recommendation for someone who was an assistant, and I was just like, okay, and I got this recommendation, and I took it on, and the assistant did decent. I'll just, they did decent, but I was so quick to hire because I just felt like I needed some relief. So I hired
So you were
quickly.
coming from a place of desperation.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Like I always like to say it like this, like, I'm drowning and I'm just looking for a stick, something, that is gonna just like help me to at least keep my head above water. So I take the help on, and soon, not long after, I'm just kind of like, like, okay, maybe this person isn't doing well because this is not necessarily where they're strongest at. So I try to tap into where this person is stronger in, and that is strategic planning and business development. So we had some conversations. The next thing I know, I get a proposal. So this person literally tried to leverage themselves from doing these kind of very basic administrative social media duties to definitely having more of a kind of a seat at the table in business development. Well, that didn't work at all. And by that I mean, I'm a dreamer, okay, which means I have a lot of different ideas every day, so I cannot imagine what it's like for my wife to be married to me, because she must hear so many different things. But you know what?
You sound like me, like a bit ADD as well.
Oh yeah, totally. But the intent is always good, right? The intent is good. It's never about money. It's never about cutting a corner. It's about how can I serve better? How can I serve better? So when you are someone like me, I don't need someone to pump the brakes for me. I don't need someone to slow me down. I don't need someone who's going to try and get to a 90% solution. I am okay with a 70% solution, and let's freaking go. Like, let's go. I don't, I am all about action, and I mean, I don't care about failing. I don't care about mistakes. I don't care about it being imperfect. I don't care about so many different things, because I believe bias for action and initiative are just a huge part of this, So that being said, here we are, and I'm like, I just don't feel like this person is enhancing the business. Like, I've just specifically asked for certain things, and I just feel like there's pushback all the time, and I was just like, this isn't going to work. Like, this isn't going to work. So I'm just like, okay. So I reached out to a friend of mine who's been in business consulting for a while, and she's a family friend, and she's just like, I am so happy to help. I've been watching your journey. Anything I could do to help. So I bring her on, and I let the other person go.
Yeah.
And the other person was, upset. And in a way, most people who are let go can see the writing on the wall. And that's literally exactly what she said. She said, I felt it coming. And I was like, okay, then, so what the hell are we doing? So they're like, well, it's traditional to give 2 weeks. And I'm like, look, like, I solve problems.
Yeah.
And I'm solving a problem. Like, it's not personal. Like, this is just not good for me. It's emotionally draining, if anything, because I'm like, this person is pushing up against me. They're not going with me. And this isn't about narcissism or being indulgent. This is about running a business, trying to, work on what I can offer people, working on my brand at the same time, and scaling a business that is in the beginning stages. That's it. That's what I needed help with. So hiring slower next time is going to be huge. And if you have the inclination to fire, I mean, especially if the relationship is kind of new, whether or not you have the bandwidth. And I love mentoring and guiding and leadership development, but like in this situation, it's a very different variable, and that variable is time is of the essence to me. I do not have the bandwidth to kind of, tap into and tap into your potential to get you to where I need you to be. Like, no. So that's one. The second thing I would say is feedback.
Yes.
Feedback is very difficult to take, but you have to have the thick skin and be ready to take it. Now, look, you could give me feedback as soon as we're done with this, and you could be like, Rich, I've been watching, and your stuff's all over the place. Like, like it's not consistent or whatever. Well, opinions are free. Okay, opinions are free, so you could take it or leave it. But if it's coming from a consumer perspective or someone, if it's not preferential, and by that I mean, look, like, if you do this, the customer is going to have to wait 2 more days. If you take this step out of the process, you could probably get it to them sooner. You take that freaking feedback. You know what I mean? You take it happily, and you invite it, and you process it, and you can do one of 2 things. You can dump it if it's not a value add, or you can just say thank you for the feedback, and like, let me see if I could work on that.
Yeah.
And that's it. But you have
But it's also, Rich, to elaborate on your point, it's also about how you deliver the feedback, because I've had situations where I've done things for people, and there's a tone and a manner and a level of professionalism, and when people just go off the rack and start yelling at you and insulting you, like, that is not a way to give a person feedback. The way to give a person feedback is the tone and manner and the level of professionalism. Do you agree?
Of course. And I think to that point, I think there's 2 types of people. There's people in your corner, and there's people in your circle. The people in your circle are people that you need to identify quick, fast, and in a hurry. And you know how you can do that? It's pretty freaking simple. You could go into your email contacts or on your phone on your contacts and just scroll through and just be like, if you don't feel like literally hiring a business coach or anything like that, which I think is good, but I'm in no position to hire anyone right now. No. So sorry, like, that's just
you and me both.
Yeah, but you could look, and that's how I found the person who's helping me now. Now, anyway, expectations need to be clear, and this needs to be someone who doesn't possess a lot of negativity. Someone whose intent is because they want you to win. Yes. And that person more than likely is not going to deliver it in the manner you and I have gotten feedback in the past, and it's not going to make you resentful, and it's not going to make you question yourself. It's going to make you work harder. It's going to make you work smarter, and it's going to make you, just much more amenable to taking that kind of constructive criticism and actually taking action out of it. We usually don't respond to criticism that we feel has a personal aspect to it as well, whether it's jealousy, whether it's I know more than you, whether it's arrogance. We usually don't respond. What we need is someone who sees us, and sees what we're trying to do, why we're trying to do it, and then we go from there. So that, and so feedback, and then hiring and firing, and those are the 2 most prominent in my mind right now. That just happened, and I had to tap into this.
No, absolutely. So what would you say some of your greatest career highlights have been in your entrepreneurial journey, and what is your ultimate vision for Cardona Media?
In my 8 months, meeting and getting to sit down with Gary Vaynerchuk is one of them. That was supposed to be a 15-minute meeting, and then they're like, hey, maybe it'll be 10 minutes, and then when I see him, he's like, hey, we got 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay. Wow. And of course, we got a little bit more than 5 minutes, but because we got in a little bit of a rhythm. And, that was huge, and I've taken his advice in that quick meeting. And it's funny, when you're with someone on that level, you realize very quickly that 5 minutes might as well have been 5 hours. Yeah. Because it's just like, he just gets invaluable, it. Yeah, it's invaluable. And then, so that is one, and I'm approaching a year of that meeting, so setting up another one, so hopefully that happens. It looks like it's going to happen. Another highlight, is just simply look like just tapping into potential that I didn't know existed. I am very, I'm not reluctant to reach out to people that I want to talk to, that I want to learn from, that I'd like on the show or anything like that. No, yeah, like, look.
They're people at the end of the day.
They're people. They're people. And they're the ultimate decision maker. Yeah. Like, sorry, I don't feel like going through a gatekeeper. I don't feel like going the traditional route. So I'm not going to go the traditional route. And that's why it's working. So just kind of like really tapping into the confidence is huge. And then lastly, hold on one second. Lastly, I would say
vision for Cardona Media.
Yeah. The vision is this. There's two visions. One is just financial freedom, like just period. I mean, it's simple, but it's real. Yeah. I am now making more per month than I was at my lucrative job, and I'm doing it all on my own, and I'm thrilled. So that's fantastic. I'd like to employ more people. I'd like to employ some veterans. I'd like this thing to grow where I can employ veterans and spouses, and I could kind of start a movement. And that movement is to encourage more people who are transitioning to consider entrepreneurship as an option. I'm not trying to make entrepreneurs. I'm just trying to convince people that it is an option that they can consider, and that it's completely fathomable. And I'm living proof. I was never an amazing Marine, or I was an amazing person at Amazon. I mean, I'm very normal. I just have ambition. And that is one of my ultimate goals. So financial freedom, and then gainful employment, and kind of starting a movement where more people transitioning out of service, having volunteered years of their lives, maybe look at something and say, hey, this is what I've always wanted to do. I'm going to give it a shot. And to just not be scared.
Absolutely. So social media and videography has changed branding and marketing. There are so many people doing this now. What would you say makes you unique and different in what you do within the storytelling and bringing it to life?
So what makes what I feel is my superpower, and I am taking this from feedback I've been given, is my ability to make people feel very, very comfortable on camera. And that is so important, because that is the difference between people actually deciding to take action and to spread their message and to gain the visibility that they deserve, and not. It's not the camera. It's not the microphone. I mean, it's none of this. So it's making people comfortable and real. I mean, you and I see it all the time. Like LinkedIn and Instagram are very, very different platforms. But when you see The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, or Chalene Johnson, or Gary Vee, or whoever get on Instagram and they are just talking and they are being themselves, or, just saying whatever they have to say, you see so much response from that. Like, that's not normal, I would say, on a place like LinkedIn. And I'm trying to kind of change trajectory. Again, this all goes back to people being able to identify with you. Leaders in high places, that vulnerability is going to take them so much further. So my ability in storytelling is to kind of help that kind of barrier, or let that guard down, and to just make you identifiable, relatable, and just human.
Yeah, absolutely. So what legacy would you like to leave? And then the personal branding is very important. Personal branding is very important. Do you build and balance, or how do you build and balance personal branding and your business branding? And what do you do differently?
The legacy is just I want my daughter and my second child, which we're not finding out the gender until birth, but I would love for them to just see what it's like to take control of your life, and not have to wait till you're 38 years old to do it. I'd love for them to see that. I'd love to see them to design my life the way I want to, and to do it in a way that makes me as fulfilled as possible. personal branding and business branding are so incredibly difficult for me to differentiate sometimes because I'm obsessed with making sure that I document the journey. So, the personal branding is kind of always happening, almost to a detriment because I'm not explicitly promoting the business. But I've scaled back a little bit, got a new website going, and got that, and I've been a little bit more active about making value-added content related to the power of video. So that is something that is anyone who realizes the importance of a personal brand is going to probably struggle with. Your business, it's easy to promote. Like, you're going to love your business. Like, that's just the way it is. But, your personal brand is just as important for the reasons I've mentioned throughout the podcast. So yeah, so that's what I got.
Perfect. So leadership is a massive subject at present. Do you believe that serving your country helped you with your own leadership skills, and what do you believe you have done differently, and has this helped you in your entrepreneurial journey?
My service, without my service, I never even would have understood, taken seriously, or even deep dived into leadership and what it's all about. Leadership is everything to me, just because I feel like the world needs more leaders, and I'm obsessed with it, to be honest, and because I just believe a lot of people like to follow, and that's fine. But I think the world needs more leaders, and I think today's best leaders that are emerging more and more are people who are able to completely conceptualize the balance between aptitude and emotional intelligence. And that is something I'm trying to show. Like, look, like, you hear me talking. I'm not this amazingly articulate person. I am a person who likes to work hard, who leverages my life experiences and leverages a lot of my instincts that I've tried to formalize and monetize on. But, there's certainly an emotional intelligence aspect to it, and there certainly is a technical aspect that goes along with my services that I provide, and there needs to be a balance. But they can't be completely lopsided. I mean, they just can't. So that, I think, is what I'm trying to build, and that is what I'd like to impart on the people around me and the people that I work with.
That leads me to the next question. When working with your clients through the power of storytelling, what is the most rewarding part of your work, and can you give us some examples?
The most rewarding part is when some of my clients tell me that they get emails and DMs, and they're just like, from counterparts or colleagues or people in the same space that they work in, and they say, what you're doing is incredible. You're all over the place. You're so busy. I love your content, or that really helped me out, or I completely resonate with that. When my clients tell me that, it's a direct reflection of something that wouldn't have happened if we didn't collaborate. So that is huge. And then the feedback I get from my clients is just, it's fantastic. I mean, I love when they say, I can't believe how much you do, because the scope of things I do outside of what I'm paid to do are just altruistic, whether that's getting them on podcasts or reaching out to people who I think they could keynote for, all these different intangibles. That is certainly the most rewarding. And I mentioned it earlier, everyone has a message, and I really want to make everyone, realize the value that they're able to bring, and to do so through maximum visibility. And I believe the way to do that is through video.
Absolutely. And that leads me to the final question. So what are the 3 key pieces of advice you would give other entrepreneurs who are starting out?
It's the biggest thing is it's not a race. You can almost never screw anything up by taking your time. And I don't mean not having a bias for action, and I don't mean that speed in business isn't important. I mean, the further you try and get ahead faster, the less you are going to be brilliant in the basics. And if you're not brilliant in the basics, you are going to have a tendency to under-deliver.
Yes.
And that is going to affect your ability to scale tremendously.
Yeah.
So get your systems, get your processes, get your brand, get your vision, and just understand it in and out. I do not believe in elevator pitches because no one has ever gotten a job in an elevator by saying what the hell they do. I mean, it's just not like that.
True.
Practice your conversations.
Yes.
Practice your interactions.
Yeah.
Practice talking to people and say, hey, can I tell you about my business?
Yes.
And you could give me feedback. A complete stranger. Because that person is going to be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. What do you do? Or they'll be like, you do this, this, and this. Yeah, like I like that. I completely understand. I mean, that feedback is invaluable. So don't be in a rush. Perfect the basics, okay? Like I said earlier, like a 70% solution works, but your basics have to be brilliant. And if you're brilliant in the basics, then the speed will come. But if you try and just, like let's say I start going to the gym and I start seeing, a little bit of changes, and then I start stacking on the weight and all these other things, I'm probably going to end up giving myself an injury, and it's going to reduce all the progress that I've started. Take it slow, be methodical, ask for feedback, and just don't be scared. Everyone in the entrepreneurial space has multiple failures a day. It's part of it, and it's only going to make you stronger.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing and for joining us today, and for such a great insight. And hopefully we can have you back in the future.
Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate it. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to catch me on LinkedIn at Rich Cardona, and my website's richcardonamedia.com. So I'd be happy to talk with anyone and impart anything that I can.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.